Hey, Becoming Me. I'm so excited to introduce you to my warrior friend, Jen. Jen, welcome to Becoming Me.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Em.
I'm so excited to have you here. And y'all, I shared with Jen before we pushed record, but we have a mutual friend in Wendy who is no stranger to Becoming Me.tv. And Wendy introduced us. And the second that Wendy did an email introduction, I started deep diving on Jen's Instagram and I couldn't stop. You're so inspiring and
Oh,
encouraging. And I love you, warrior friend. I'm excited to have you here.
thank you. Back
Yeah.
at ya.
Thank
Yes.
you. So obviously now people are like, okay, Emily's excited, but who is Jen? And so let's dive in first with if someone was not familiar with who you are, just take a moment and introduce who is Jen.
Yeah. So my name is Jen Carlson, and I am a single foster mom. I do refugee foster care for unaccompanied refugee minors, and I'm also a writer. I just wrote my first book, Do These Sweatpants Make Me Look Single, and released that in January. I'm also a licensed esthetician, and so I do trainings and sales for a skincare brand here in Denver, Colorado.
Wow, that's amazing. And now I'm so excited to dive into your story.
Yeah.
So let's just take some time and unpack your story. Like, what has made you who you are today? What's the journey? Walk us through it.
Yeah. So, so I moved to Denver, Colorado when I was just a few months shy of my 30th birthday. I'm 42 now, and when I moved to Colorado, I was single. I was, kind of looking to change things up. Where I grew up in Minnesota, a lot of my friends had gone more of the traditional route and got married in their early 20s. They started their families by their mid 20s. They, were purchasing their homes. And so I was kind of leaving. That's kind of where I was coming off of. It's like my decade of my 20s where I was still trying to figure out what is my place in this world? Like, what does it look like to be a Christian woman who is, just how do I define success as a Christian woman? When really growing up, I saw success as being married young, a mother, all of those things. And so I just continue kind of developing my career and exploring those questions, I would say through my 30s. And I've learned a lot on that journey. And so that book, Do These Sweatpants Make Me Look Single, really dives into um some of those, exploring that topic of kind of finding my identity, kind of who I'm becoming as a single woman, and then kind of beyond that, dating journey, which is more of what the book is about. um I After that, decided to explore foster care and find myself as, a single mom now of two refugee girls, one from Africa, one from China, and then one has a little baby. So technically I'm a grandma, but I don't like that word. So I'm called Gigi, but um, yeah,
Wow. So I would love to ask a couple follow-up questions on your story because first,
yeah,
I'm already so encouraged by your journey. And I love how it even started with this question, like, what does success as a woman look like? And so we
yeah,
all can grow up with this perception based on
right,
circumstances around us, what we see, and that's what
yeah,
we learn to believe or see success is. And
right,
often our journeys don't always unpack how maybe we hoped, dreamed, planned, or
yep,
what we see others' journeys unpacking as.
hmm,
So, as you were on this quest to define what is success for Jen, have you found
right.
that answer or that new picture?
I think that's such a great question. And I really do think that is always evolving for me. I really do like to explore that question because I think every decade kind of brings new questions to the surface. So the 20s, you're just exploring, like, what am I supposed to be in my life? Like, who am I as an adult, as, becoming an adult? There's so much comparison happening. And, am I on track?
Yeah.
Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? And then, I think that I found so much freedom in my 30s as I kept exploring those questions. Um, and, you know, yeah, I think that continues to evolve today. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think every chapter, that's what I love about our stories, is
Mm.
is it truly is like chapter by chapter. And so there is like this becoming journey and a story arc I think all of us live out in our lives. And so I think I still ask those questions, but I have found a lot of answers too.
I love
Um,
that.
yeah.
And that's what I even love about the word becoming because it's always
Mhm.
evolving. It's an action,
Yes.
and it's not a we
Yes.
don't say we become because I don't believe as a Christ follower on this side of eternity I ever arrive. I'm always learning,
Right.
growing, and becoming. And so I
Yes.
love how you've really even taken each chapter of your story
Yes.
and it sparks you to ask more questions. That's
Right.
amazing. If
Yes.
somebody was, like, inspired by hearing what you're saying right now, and they're like, "Okay, like, I don't wanna just assume everybody else's version of success is what success looks like for me."
Right.
Are there any questions that they could begin to ask themselves to start on their own quest for answering that question?
Yeah, yeah. I think one of, before my sister and I, so in the book, I kind of outline a comical dating challenge that my sister and I create, and we compete against each other in health and faith and money and love and all these things during the 6 month competition. And it's funny and, like deep and sad, and we're broken and kind of discovering new things about ourselves and growing in confidence. And then I think one of the main questions we ask ourselves is, what does the best version of me look like? And so, whether I get married or not, whether I achieve, a dream of motherhood or not, whether I achieve all of those checked boxes, we kind of start to ask ourselves, like, who is my best self?
Mm,
And the answer went a lot deeper than finding a spouse or having, that traditional success in life. And we started to find, like, my best self is really financially free. She's playful. She's wise. She's growing in a relationship with God. There were so many things that were more about, like you talk about, the becoming and the evolution, than really checking off, like, kind of, which we do check off some physical goals as well, kind
yeah.
of worldly successful goals, um but yeah, there's also a lot along the way that we
Mhm.
so yeah,
So
who is
good.
my best self? What does that woman look like? If I could create a vision for myself a year from now, who would that person, how would
Mhm.
she spend her time? Who would she spend her time with? And we started to kind of break apart that question.
I love it. That's so cool. And if somebody wanted to learn more about your book, how and where could they go to learn about this book? Because I cannot
Yeah,
wait to read it.
yeah, yeah. So my book is on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. You could ask any bookstore to, or if you like a local bookstore, you could ask a local bookstore to order it as well.
I love it.
Um,
That's so good.
yeah,
Y'all, we'll
yeah,
have the link in the show notes as well, so you can easily click the links and connect with Jen and get her book, all the things. But I have
yeah,
another question for you. Are you a
yes.
coffee drinker?
I am a coffee drinker.
Yes. Oh,
I love coffee.
ooh. Okay, so how do you drink your coffee?
Oh man, I would say if I'm going to a coffee shop, I like a soy latte. And if I'm making it at home, I like to just make a cup of coffee and put in just like a little bit of caramel macchiato creamer.
Ooh, that sounds so delicious. Is that what's in
Yeah.
your coffee cup today with some of the caramel
Yeah.
macchiato?
Uh-huh. Yeah,
I love
exactly.
it. Okay,
Yep.
so if you were out at a coffee shop and you're having a soy latte with
Yep.
another warrior friend on their own becoming journey, what would
Yeah.
you say to encourage them?
Yeah. I would say, man, so if I were out with another warrior friend, um, for me, I think um, I'm a big journaler. And so I think that just taking time, like at least once a month, like some people are more daily journalers. I think that used to be kind of my style. But even just like setting a monthly kind of sit down, we're so consumed by social media and by just like really fast paced schedules. And so just setting some time aside once a month, it could be once a week, but I also like to do kind of a bigger vision planning, like once a quarter, and just sit down and kind of like check in on my goals, check in how my heart's doing, check in. Um, yeah, because I think sometimes it's easy to get caught up in what everybody else is doing. Like, what is so and so doing on Instagram or on Facebook or on
Mm,
whatever it is, TikTok. And it's so good and so healthy to sit down and just to reflect on, what do I really want? What does God really want for me? So that would be one encouragement. And yeah,
I love
yeah,
that.
I think, yep,
I love that. That is so powerful. Do you have time for 2 more questions? I would love
I
to pick
sure
your
do.
brain.
Yeah,
Okay. So you mentioned that you are a single foster mom.
yep.
And first I wanna know, like, what inspired you to pursue this journey?
Yeah, yeah. I did not set out to be a foster mom. I did not want to have kids by myself. I really wanted that to be something that I did with a partner someday. So it's kind of funny that I find myself in this place. It feels like it was truly a calling, and that I was kind of pushed into the deep end of it. And once I found that it is so fulfilling, and I only wish I had done it sooner. But I was actually, so have you heard of Compassion International?
Yes.
So I was sponsoring a boy through Compassion. We had been writing letters for 10 years, and so he was about to age out of the program back in 2019, and I thought, I've got to go visit him before he ages out and just meet this kid face to face. And another thing I wish I had done sooner, because it just made it so real, when you're uh, meeting that child that you've been helping. So I visited him, and as I was there in Thailand, I just had a very spiritually moving moment where there was a song. I'll kind of give you the detailed side. So there was a song that I had always pictured, Emily, that I would walk down the aisle
Mhm.
um, in my wedding to. I had written this song down like years prior, and it was a song I really rarely hear, an instrumental song.
Okay.
But when I had heard it years ago, I was like, I could picture myself walking down the aisle to this song. And as I was in Thailand in this small village, um, there was a church that was up on stilts. It was packed full of little kids. And I'm at the bottom of the stairs, and you had to take your shoes off before you went in. So everybody's shoes, there's hundreds of teeny tiny little pairs of shoes, little flip-flops and everything. And and I was by myself. I don't know if I had, where I had gone, but for some reason everybody else was in this little chapel except for
Mhm.
me. At the bottom of the stairs, I could hear the music inside. They were playing like worship music. The kids were singing. I mean, it was a really like lively, you could
Wow.
hear like the fun and the jam going on inside. And all of a sudden, as I stepped onto the staircase, the music inside that chapel stopped. And they must have had like, I mean, this is a poor village. They must have had some sort of iPod or some way to play this song that I pictured walking down the aisle to at my wedding.
Oh
This
my
song instrumental. I mean, the singing stopped, and I am walking up the stairs to these double doors of this church in Thailand to this like chapel of children, and that song is playing. It was so surreal. I couldn't make it up if I tried. And once I got in, they like restarted their worship music and they started singing again. So I went home and I was like, I've got to explore what this means. And so through that, I intended to just become like a youth mentor for these kids. Like that's when I made the phone call. I was like, I would love to be, I think God's calling me to be a youth mentor to you, to your organization, for these foster kids. And they're like, what about being a foster parent? And I gave them every excuse why I wasn't the right person. I'm like, I'm single. I have a, 2 bedroom, 1 bathroom condo. Like I travel a lot for work. I had every excuse.
God.
And yeah, eventually 6 months later, my life changed and I ended up becoming a foster mom. So
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Like, I literally just the goodness of God too,
yeah,
that one of your dreams, he so specifically used that song to
yes,
communicate
right.
with you and outline, like, here's this next chapter I'm inviting you into.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
beautiful. That's
Yep.
really beautiful. If somebody was listening and they were like, "I have always wanted to foster, but I've been afraid because I'm single or I don't feel like I
Right.
have the right, resources, but it's something I've wanted to do." How would
Yeah.
you encourage them to just take that step?
Yeah. For me, because I was hesitant to do it by
Yeah.
myself, I just got licensed and I was like, baby steps here. Like, I'm just going to get licensed. And
Oh,
then they called me about placements and I said, I don't feel ready,
mhm.
but why don't I just start as a respite foster parent? So, like, if another family was going out of town or needed a break, like a kid, these cute kids from since I'm doing refugee foster care, they're from all these other countries. Most of them are teenagers if they're refugees in America. And so, yeah, kids from South America or from Africa or wherever it was, they would stay for just a weekend. And so I felt like for me, that was a good first step.
Yeah,
And then since then, I've had two long-term placements.
that's
But it is also my other encouragement, and I
yeah,
encourage myself with this as well because there are hard days.
yeah,
But I think that's how we grow is by like leaning into the hard. And so even when it's hard, I'm reminded that it doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that, to have support and you don't have to do it forever. It's like you can take a placement and it could be that that's the one child you were designed to impact. And so that gives me freedom as well. It's not,
yeah.
yeah,
I love it. Thank you for unpacking those questions. That's incredible.
yeah,
You inspire and encourage me for sure. If somebody was like, I have got to follow Jen's journey, I want to connect with her online, where can they go to
yeah.
connect with you on all the things?
Yes. So I am on Instagram at underscore Jen Carlson, and it's Jen with one N, Carlson with an O-N. And then I'm on Facebook at Jen Carlson Writes.
Awesome. And we'll have, as I shared earlier, y'all, all the links. You can easily click them, connect with Jen. But Jen, thank you so much for your time, for investing in us and who we're becoming, and just sharing the gift of you. I'm inspired and encouraged by you, and I'm just cheering you on big time, warrior friend.
Thank you. Back at you, Ab. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.